Hello friends, Sheepdog here. It's been a couple weeks since I've done a video, but I wanted to do a little more extensive video on this one. HT put out a hashtag for peanuts or fifth pocket knives. I don't call them that. I call them grandpa knives because you look back, all our grandpas had a knife that was sort of like this. Something that they threw in their pocket to do little tasks around the house. So, and I thought I would show you some of mine, So, here we go. I'm going to go from the smallest to the largest pretty much. But none of these knives has a blade over 3 inches. I mean, the biggest one is 2 3/4 inches as far as a main blade. So, and we're gonna start with this little buck. I got this little buck right before Christmas. It came in a box set with a canoe, but this is a little tiny thing. This is what I would call a peanut. This is the buck 370. For me, this is the smallest knife. I think this is the smallest knife I own, but it's a nice little knife. It's your imitation staghorn there, but cute little knife. Great for cleaning your fingernails. Great for cutting strings. Great for opening letters. But yeah, so that's knife number 1. Put that there. Next one is a little serpentine buck, what they call it, whatever. This is Imperial. So jackknife, that's it. little Imperial 2-blade jackknife. Clip point. And I like the Imperial clip point because it's so smooth. Little pin blade. So this is one of those shell coverings, that, as you can see, whoever had the knife before me, pinched the heck out of that bolster, but I don't care. It's a good knife. Longs of Medford Incorporated John Deere dealership. But so yeah, that's number 2. Next one is one of the only real stag knives I own. This is a another jack. Or no, this is a Stockman, but this is Hinkles. Most of you may know Hinkles as a company that makes chef's knives, but back in the day they made pocket knives. So yeah, this one has very strong springs. You got your made blade, half stop. This was a sheep's foot, at one time, but it's got a nice little belly. Somebody, the person that owned this used the heck out of that sheep's foot blade, but it still sharpens up really nicely, and I like carrying this little knife. And then of course you got your spay blade. Whoever owned this knife loved this knife. Look at that stag. Look at that stag that just, I mean, the pile side is, there's no valleys or anything. That thing is worn flat. And the show side, there's some valleys, but it's so, like I said, this was carried a lot by a grandpa. Next one is my Diamond Edge. I like the Diamond Edge knives. This is Imperial, Diamond Edge Imperial. This is the 383, so it's another Stockman, a Serpentine Stockman. I looked it up. I was like, which knife has been the most popular, style knife? And they said, according to Google, Stockmans are the #1 selling knife ever. That one's a nice little spay blade. And a little pen knife. Yeah, I really like Diamond Edge. So there's that one. And this one has another little Serpentine Stockman. This one is an Ulster. See the Tang stamp, Ulster USA. This one, the springs are, the snap is there, but it's a light snap. But I like this knife. It's one of the first ones that I refurbished, cleaned up and made look nice. Because when I got this was a cruddy knife. The knife was dirty and rusty and cleaned up pretty nicely. But yeah, I like it. Now the next one I got probably about 2 months ago. This one has great Stag Delrin handles. Doesn't feel like it was carried. Yeah, it's just smooth, but it hadn't been carried a whole heck of a lot. But it had been used quite a bit. This one is a Camillus. Camillus, New York, USA. But somebody took this thing to a grinder. I got it sharpened up, but you can see where somebody used a Dremel or something on it. It ate up the blades. There's a little belly there, but there's a whole not good life left on it. You got your sheep's foot, and of course you got your spay blade. Now this spay blade, if you look at that, there's a little etching there that says razor edge stainless, patent pending. And on the other side, you might be able to see it a little bit there. It says for flesh only. But I like the color of this one. Nice. That brown color is it's attractive. It's an attractive knife. Next one is what Buck calls the Trio, and this is Buck number 371. What I like about Bucks is they use a spring for each blade, so each blade gets its own spring. Nice clip point blade. Of course, this is a Stockman. Of course, you got your sheep's foot, your spay blade. But I really like the they call the laminated wood that Buck uses on their knives. It's an attractive knife. But there you go on that one. Next one up is a new old stock. It's a old timer 34 OT. I call it this new old stock because it's still got the milling marks on the blades. I don't think it's ever been used. It needs to be sharpened. I haven't sharpened this one up real well yet, but still excellent condition. Yeah, of course it's a Stockman, so it's your typical clip point, sheep's foot, spay blade. But I'm glad I found this one. This was in, like I said, it's almost in brand new condition. If it would have had the box, I would have been really happy. But yeah, I enjoy this knife. Like I said, I don't need to sharpen it up. It's a little dull, but it's an excellent. Like I said, it's besides the little carbon marks on the blades, all intents and purposes, this is a brand new knife. Now we go from that one to a new China made. This is one of the China made ones. And this is, you know, 33 OT. So it's a two blade jackknife. You got your saw cut Delron. You know, you could pick one of these up at at like Bass Pro Shop or someplace like that for less than $20. But it's a heck of a good knife. Stainless steel blades. Like look at the mill marks on that blade. You see the mill marking. And then on the older one, look at that. You can see the mill marking. So this knife is what, 20 years old and still brand new. This knife is a year old. The next knife is the only quote unquote whittler that I own. This is a Kissing Cranes from Soligen, Germany. I say quote unquote because I never, most whittlers will have not a coping blade as opposed to a secondary clip point. So it's a kind of an oddball, but it's on a whittler frame, two blades, two small blades on one side with main blade on the other, so it runs on two springs. The main blade runs on both springs on one end. Each one of the smaller blades has his own spring on the other. But I was surprised when I found this one. I found it at an antique store. I think I paid $15 for it, maybe. I don't know. Can't remember. It's over a year ago. But it's a nice knife, and I enjoy carrying this one. The next one was in I think 2 videos ago. It's another 2-blade jack. But this is a George Westinghouse IXL. It's the only English-made knife I have. This thing was in pretty decent condition. The blades were all gunky and black, and but heck, full blades. They're not worn out or anything, but they were in funky condition, but cleaned up really, really nice. And this is the biggest one of this little collection of mine. Again, the serpentine jack. And the last one is the oddball of the bunch. Got this one not too long ago. Well, about 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. We've figured out that this was probably made in either Pennsylvania or New York, but there's no name on it. There is absolutely no name on it. But it's got the cracked ice handles, small bolsters, pin blade, and I'm gonna call it a modified spear point. It's a clip point, but it's the clip is so far up front. But it's got excellent springs, half stops on both blades. But I couldn't tell you is when this was made, but this is like a brand new condition. I mean, I don't think I don't know if I even sharpened this one. Yeah, probably I put a little bit of an edge on it, but heck, I don't know when companies stopped making the small bolsters. This early 1900s. So I'm gonna say this is 20s or 30s, but I couldn't tell you what brand it is. There's no markings on it at all, but it's a heck of a knife. So here we go. Let's move these down here. This is my collection of grandpa knives. Like I said, a lot of you guys would call these peanuts, and I would say that's the only peanut of this group. Everything else is bigger than a peanut. And a lot of you would call these fifth pocket knives. I throw these in my regular pocket. I carry this size knife more than any knife. When I'm just tooling around the house, or around town, this is what I throw in my pocket. I'm not carrying a big knife. I throw a little knife like this in my front pocket, and then I throw a moderate in my back pocket, and around town, that's all I need. Now, when I go on my trips, I'll definitely carry a bigger traditional, because I'm going to have to use it for work. These are for small tasks. Cleaning your fingernails, cutting little strings, maybe cut a zip tie or something, tape, opening packages and stuff like this. This is more than enough to do those tasks. And when I'm in town or just around the house, this is the size of knife I carry. Now, like I said, when I go on my work trips and I'm gonna maybe need a stronger, heavier knife, and I'll grab a bigger knife for the trip. But small tasks, this is it. So I'm gonna close this out and show me your grandpa knives, and we'll see you next time. And remember, a dull knife is a dangerous knife. speaking of, I need to sharpen that knife up right there. So, until next time, have a good one, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.